Literally, dude. And it comes back to the whole the same eye that you perceive with, God perceives you with. Let that sink in, dude. Like, feel how that statement makes you feel. The same eye that you perceive with, God perceives you with.
Yeah, that's really well said. I wow.
Ik het wiki van een slijmerige keel.
That
Maar anders
this
is dit.
yeah, it's chilled. Well,
There we
hi.
go.
Hi everybody.
We
Uh
are starting the recording. It's like kind of prone for me to say like we're going live since I've been
yeah.
saying it so much. But yeah, we're starting the recording. Hello, this is Meltmore.
This is Dreamer J. Uh yeah, been an interesting week. How has your week been?
Oh, I've been pretty chilled. Don't really have too much to complain about. Uh, had some growth, had some ups and downs with just like for some reason, when everything is going well, subjectively well, and there's nothing to feel bad about, I tend to like kind of coax myself into feeling bad. And then when things are subjectively not going well, then I have this capacity to pull myself out of that rut. So it's a little bit of a weird contrast that I'm getting used to within my own life, but I'm happy about it. So, like 2 days back, had a little bit of a rough day, just very emotional day. Had some stuff that I had to deal with, and then that night, like we had some rain, and it like broke a bunch of my plants, and I came next
Shit.
morning to see like branches on the ground being completely like destroyed, and I was like, you know what? I understand.
Yeah.
I kind of just like switched the mindset up. Kind of felt I felt a lot better like ever since. I've been feeling pretty good actually.
Yeah, what was funny is I had kind of the same thing happen to me this morning. I lost 3 hours of recording footage, and due to load shedding here in South Africa, and I got outside, and I was so bleak, man. I was so bleak, and then I just sat back and I was like, you know what? This is such a good opportunity to learn. Everything you can't control everything. Sometimes shit just goes wrong, and you end up at a point and you're like, fuck life. But yeah, you can't. If you're gonna set it this idea of fuck life, you're gonna just become negative. Shit happens. Sometimes you just gotta get up, go take a shower, feel better, make some food, and then just come back at it stronger than you were before.
Like this is actually something that I've been planning to do on today's stream, and I'm still going to do it. And it's this idea of God only says yes. And so if
Hmm.
you exclaim into the universe, "Oh, I'm so sick and tired of this load shedding, like it's ruining my life, yada yada yada," all that God says is yes. Yeah, it is. Oh, I need money. Oh, I'm so broke. This, and that. And God is like, yes, you are. You do need money. You are broke. And like ever since I've really come to this realization, it has made it a lot easier for me to say things to myself and for myself that I want God to say yes to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. It's kind of like it's the whole thing of again setting that intention. Where what do you want to get out of the thing? If you're gonna look at everything negative and always woe is you, that's your life. It's gonna be where you're gonna be. But if you focus on where you want it to go rather than complaining or focus on the positive things, then more positive things are gonna come to you.
Absolutely, dude. It's the whole like begets like thing. What you put out into the universe is what the universe puts back into you. What
Yep.
you believe about the world is what you believe about yourself, and in turn, what you believe about yourself is what you believe about the world.
Yep. It's that I can't remember which book it was. It might have been The Buddha and the Badass. And he was talking about how it's if I'm just remembering this correctly, it's something like your thoughts create your reality creates your beliefs create your um circumstances, but your circumstances create your beliefs create your thought your what did I say? Thoughts. Uh, wow, my brain is all over the place.
That's okay, dude.
Yeah,
I get the gist of what you want to
yeah,
say,
it's
and it
basically
really is. It's like it's a cycle, dude. And I feel like we're very prone sometimes to kind of like see the cycle that we're going in and out of, or like I like to think of it less of a cycle actually, but as a sine wave. So you
it
get your
is more
ups,
of
you
a
get your
wave.
downs, and then like sometimes you get like stuck on one of the hemispheres. Like let's say if the sine wave goes down, that is a subjectively negative experience. And if you're overly obsessed and you're grabbing onto that experience, you're going to be in that negative experience and you're going to make a loop. So instead of continuing your sine wave, you're going to go back on yourself and then loop over and over and over again in that hemisphere until you let yourself experience fully the things that you're supposed to be experiencing and get through it and actually feel it. That's gonna be the only way that you can actually transcend these feelings by
Yep,
letting go.
yep. I totally and utterly agree with you. Um, yeah, it's so very interesting. It's like something that I've had a thought about, and I'd like to know your input on it. Is how what do you do when you feel like somebody has betrayed your trust in them, and there's nothing you can do about that? So the I don't, and this is something that I mean in a bit more of a broader sense. It was the question that apartheid had of how do we forgive the people who did this to us, and now in our lifetime, it's how do we forgive the people of South, or not the people of Africa, but the politicians of South Africa for all the negative stuff they do for us.
I think like the only way really to feel like okay, so this is basically my input on it. We can either live in love and forgiveness or in judgment and fear. And that is going to be the only choice that we really have to make. Again, coming down to intention, you have to ask yourself, what is it I choose to say to the world? What is it I want to express into the world? And if you're going to be like negative about the situation, for example, our government and the way they're running our country, like you're going to just create separation, judgment, and fear within inside of yourself about the possibilities of the future, about what these people might be doing with the money that they have access to. And it is literally going to be something that is like fear based. Or you can live in forgiveness and in love and look at this whole situation from a place of mystery. And you're like, I wonder why. And then if you really go far enough, you can kind of unravel the reason why these things are happening the way they are happening. A lot of the people that are in our government at the moment are people that grew up with nothing. And being in the position where you can go from not having anything to having as much as you can take right now while you are in power, you kind of start to understand why these things are happening the way that they are happening. And by looking at it from a place of mystery, by trying to understand it, by trying to put yourself in their shoes, you understand it. It doesn't make it right. It never makes it right. But you start to explore more of your own consciousness and your own humanity by
You learn
allowing
more
yourself to
empathy.
understand these things.
You by allowing yourself to forgive and look at the picture from their shoes, you learn how to actually gain more empathy towards these people. These people sounds rough
Exactly. And
against
gain more
people.
empathy towards yourself as well
Yeah,
at the end of the day. Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, we're not separate. Like we are all on this planet together, and we are literally inhabiting a unity consciousness. We're sharing this consciousness with each other. And like subjectively, there's a lot of theories that can say we're all, individualized expressions of God. So we are literally one, which means me and you are essentially the same being from different vantage points, different perspectives, different bodies, different mindsets, different whatever you want to label it. At the end of the day, it's still being one. And
Mm.
then by realizing that and by recognizing that as one, you are complete. You don't need any external forces to complete you. And when you are complete and when you recognize how whole you are as a being, you kind of allow yourself to transcend these worldly kind of judgments, because no matter what someone says to you or do to you, they can't take away from that wholeness that you have at your center. And by realizing that we all have that wholeness at our centers, we get to look at people from a place or a little bit of a more holistic, I can literally say, perspective. And we can see them as these beings that they are, in pain, in fear, in lack as well, and try and help them and love them for their process and for the experience that they are experiencing as well. Because in the divine mind of God, all experience is perfectly neutral.
That's
You you get
very
to
well
choose
said.
you get to choose which experiences you want to invite into your life, but all experiences are perfectly neutral. And it's just your perception of those experiences that's
Yeah.
going to create the non-neutral feeling of
Well,
it.
that's actually quite intuitive if you think about how our universe is. Most of our universe is inanimate objects, inanimate matter. It can't have a feeling or an emotion towards an event happening. It just happens. It's us as actual caring and intelligent and what would it be, insightful beings that can present and project feelings and things onto things that happen.
Yeah, literally, dude. And it comes back to the whole the same eye that you perceive with, God perceives you with. Let that sink in, dude. Like, feel how that statement makes you feel. The same eye that you perceive with, God perceives you with.
Yeah, that's really well said. I Wow.
Yeah, dude. So
It's crazy
what
to
we
me
look at,
how
man.
how incredible a single statement like that can be in causing feeling and create or giving knowledge actually. That's something, language, the ability for you to have presented that knowledge to me in such an abstract way, and yet I can fully understand what you were trying to say.
Dude, it comes down to language and communicating being a type of creation. And literally by saying things to each other, we can create these entire worlds within inside of the minds of our friends and our loved ones. And it comes back again to the whole intention of why it is you're doing that. Because you can create, like I can, say some hectic stuff to you, create an image of in your mind of fear or
Yeah.
disgust or whatever, and that will be my choice in creation. That's going to be something that I've chosen to create
Yeah.
for you to experience. So by becoming completely aware of just how, as creators we get to start choosing and start to discern what it is we want to create. And again, asking yourself, do I want to create this thing, this conversation, this sentence, this comment on a video, this comment on a Instagram post, whatever it is you're communicating to the world? What is your intention behind that communication? Are you trying to create more love, more light, more forgiveness, more compassion, more empathy into the world? Or are you trying to take away from those things?
Yeah.
Because we have the capacity to be honeybees, to go and pollinate and to bring more fruit into the world, or we get to be locusts and we get to eat everything and demolish and destroy.
Yeah, it's actually
And
a very big responsibility of once you do realize that you have this capability of doing good with it.
it really is, dude. And it's responsibility, literally, as you said. It's actual responsibility that you have to take.
Yeah. And it's it's crazy to me how much we've accomplished with this I'm gonna call it almost hive mind that we have developed with communication and sharing of thoughts, and how powerful it can be in spreading messages as well as ideas and furthering people, furthering emotion, furthering understanding. I was reading that the article you sent on Neuralink, which is way more than just an article on Neuralink.
Yeah, wait, but why? If you're very interested, wait, but why Neuralink?
Your
You're
wait, but
going to
why?
learn a lot about your own brain, and
Yep.
then also in turn about how things are probably going to work in the future.
It's like 60% teaching you more about how your brain works. And that was also something incredible to me. Learning how each portion of my brain like semi works and which portions of my brain are responsible for the largest part. So just something small. Having read that, I've completely changed up how I play certain video games because I learned that you have more brain processing power to your wrists and hand than to your whole arm. So it makes way more sense to only use your wrist and hand to do small incremental movements and just small things like that. But the biggest one, and this is something that proves a huge idea I've always had in my head, is that we have the capacity to change everything and anything about our personality. And what confirmed that to me was when we were talking about when he was talking about how you actually form new habits, and that it's actually your neurons in your brain shifting and moving and elongating and changing to
And making new
form.
neural, like, almost firing patterns as well.
Yeah, and it literally changes how your brain looks to produce this new habit. So, if that's true, and our brains really do have that amount of movement, which according to all neuroscientists we do, that would mean we have the capacity to change every single part of our personality and how we view everything. Nothing is static. No way of thinking is absolute. Everything can change and should change as you grow older and learn more things.
Yeah, dude. And it almost comes down, like, I love this topic so much actually. Like, if you really want to extrapolate even further, you're not even the same physical being that you were 10 years ago.
Mm,
Like, all of the matter that makes up you have been replaced and have been almost like synthesized. And then on top of that, I know it's more than 80%, but some people say it's like as high as 95% of your body isn't even human cells, dude. Like, just think about that for a second. So we have this tendency to separate ourselves and to think of ourselves as these, human beings, and that we've named ourselves aptly. But we have trillions and trillions of little, I believe, conscious things. Like a red blood cell, I
mm.
believe, is conscious that it has a job. It needs to go and collect oxygen from your lungs, and then it needs to take that oxygen to wherever it's needed in your body. And that's its job. It literally does that over and over again until its life cycle perishes.
Yeah.
And because that little conscious being is doing its job, you are having this conscious experience. And it's happening all over your body with trillions and trillions of cells to make up this lived experience.
Yeah, that's actually incredible to me, and you're completely right because if we can make microcomputers already and or nanobots, because we have actually I read a thing we nanobots aren't what everybody thinks. Nanobots aren't like actual machines. You can't make machines that small. I don't even think it would be possible, but you can reprogram like viruses to do things, and if you can reprogram a virus, then your red blood cells and white blood cells definitely have the capacity to be conscious. But consciousness and intelligence are two different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Consciousness. I think intelligence allows you to experience more of
Yeah.
consciousness,
Yeah,
but I
that's
don't
nice.
think I don't think that consciousness within itself is something that's limited to only things that are intelligent. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in theory. So this is actually something I want to share with you.
Yeah.
It's a little bit pseudoscience at the moment, but it's something I intuitively understand and believe. I'm
Okay.
just going to go and Google this, uh, the YouTube link, so I can actually send it to you. So
Thank you.
it's the idea that water actually has the ability to retain information, dude. And literally, you can talk to your water and you can create for yourself something that is better than your normal water would be. And the way that they basically justify, or try and quantify, I should say, rather, this data is by creating 3 glasses of water and adding rice at the bottom of them. The first glass has positive things said to it, second glass has negative things said to it, and the third glass is left indifferent. And the first glass actually started fermenting, so creating a healthy ecosystem where an enzyme can eat sugars and create alcohol. The second one was completely inert and like dead, the negative one. And the third one, the one that had indifference towards it, had mold and stuff growing on it. And it literally showed that the worst thing that you can do for water is to be indifferent towards it. And I feel we're always indifferent towards our water. So ever since
Wow.
learning this information, I've been loving my water, literally. I've been telling my water that I love it. And I've been drinking water with the intention of just being aware that it might be containing information. And like it's especially uh, trippy to me, I should say, because the water that I'm drinking is coming from like boreholes. So the very rain that falls on our farm is the water that I'm drinking, and it goes through all of these processes, these nooks and crannies, the very trees, the very roots, all of the bugs, all of the animals. And this water is like gracing all of these things as it like seeps down to the floor bed water, like water beds, and then I get to drink this water. And I feel already in that I'm getting some information, like this water is remembering that information about the stuff that it's been through. And I feel subjectively all of those things are better than it running down like a road into a gutter. And then on top of that, I've been adding crystals to my water. I've been loving my water. I've been telling my water that I'm appreciative of it, thanking it for hydrating me. And it has been a profound realization for me, just again, what our intentions are. Even having intention towards something as something mindless, I want to say, almost as drinking water. I've been becoming more aware of my showers, more aware of just the way that I do things, dude. And I feel like eventually, if I continue on this path, I'll be at a point where I'll just be literally intentional with every
Yeah.
single thing I do for my entire day.
See, but isn't that the aim? Because I like every time before I do exercise, I'm just like, thank you, body, and this is for you. And then I'll do exercise because exercise is you trying to help your body rather than you trying to break your body. And I feel like even if that water thing turns out not to be true, that water doesn't actually, and all of it's coincidence. I'll tell you about another big coincidence that happened to me as well after this. But even if that doesn't turn out to actually be real science and water doesn't retain information, just the act alone of making sure that you appreciate the thing you have will mean that you'll very rarely or be less likely to fall towards greed and envy. Because I've been thinking about it, that other portion of where people only fall into greed and envy when they stop appreciating the stuff that they have in front of them. That's when it happens. When you start taking things for granted and not appreciating how wonderful they actually are for you to have. And water is a huge one. I'm not gonna lie to you, water is a huge one. I don't appreciate water enough, not nearly. It's literally the lifeblood of the earth.
It's the, like, you can even go further and say it's the, um, what's the word? The birthing fluid, dude.
It is the birthing
of
fluid.
life, dude.
It
Because
literally is.
yeah, dude, the placenta of life almost. And like we're literally, so there are some theories that we might have spawned on land. I don't really believe it. I believe evolution happened in the oceans first. And like literally our very DNA got shaped and got developed by the earth. And our, like, you can not argue this, fortunately, but our DNA does definitely store information.
Yeah, it does.
So it was encouraged to create this information storage system. And the very DNA that was, you know, in the single-celled organisms that started life on our planet is still a part of us, dude. We still have that information. So we have like what, like our Earth is 4.5 billion years
Yeah.
old. I don't exactly know
It's
how
somewhere
long.
around there.
Let's say 4 billion years of information, dude, is contained within our DNA, and we are like the lived experience of all of that information being gathered.
Well, dude, we can argue even further back. Neil deGrasse Tyson always has the thing where he said once, when I look up at the sky, I feel more at home than when I look down at the earth because I know that every single atom in my body was once in the core furnace of a sun.
Yeah.
And that is even more incredible. The planet we are currently was birthed out of a sun. And those atoms, the dust that became your atoms, is now you that can think and consciously be. But a couple billion years ago, you were nothing more than fiery atoms inside an furnace of a sun. So how can people argue that everything on this universe is not connected? I'm lost as to why. I want to tell you a story as well, and this is something that I can't tell you how much my mind is still blown about this story. So I'm not gonna name names, but I'm gonna use the story because the story is huge. So Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, my power goes out, load shedding. I call up one of my friends, and this is the commune that Adam stayed at for before you. I think you were there as well. He stayed there when you went to China. Um, but so I go to that commune. I call up one person who's there, and I'm like, "Hey, yo, can I come over for load shedding?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. I'm watching a movie." Great. I come over now. I have spent a lot of my time at that commune. For the people who don't know, we renovated my house 2019. I literally lived in the commune for like three months. I just didn't sleep there, but every day after varsity, before varsity, I would go there. So I had pretty much lived in this commune. And so I go over to with my friend, go over to my friend at the commune, and as I walk into the commune, I see this a new person there, and now I'm like, yo, bro, who did somebody move in? It's like, yeah, she's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, great, new person, but it's load shedding, so everybody's just in their rooms. We go over to his room, we watch a movie, and then the power comes back on at 10, and the kettle immediately starts boiling because somebody had put it on while it was load shedding. And we're like, oh, sick, let's go make coffee. And we walk outside to the living room, and right next to the living room, there's a lounge. And there's a girl sitting there. And I see her, and I'm like, I don't know why, but I recognize her, and I'm like, hi. She takes the earphones, and she's like, I'm like, hi, I'm Johan. And she's like, hi, and her name here. And my head explodes. Like, literally turns to dust in my skull. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, what did I go, and I'm like, and now the name she said is the same name of my best friend's new girlfriend, and she looks like my best friend's girlfriend. So my mind is like falling to pieces here, and I message my best friend. I'm like, yo, dude, please call your girlfriend. I think I'm standing next to her. He's like, whoa, what? I'm like, yeah, I think she moved into the commune. And both our brains just melt. And it turns out that out of the thousands of communes that she could have gone to, she moved into the commune that I have spent pretty much most of my life. Yeah, the chances of it happening are so tiny and immeasurable that my brain still can't comprehend it.
Yeah, dude, synchronicities.
Dude,
Like,
synchronicity.
it really is like the thing is as well. Like a lot of people have this resistance towards accepting any synchronicity as truth, but like with the frequency that it has happened in my life personally, it's not something that I can just write off. You know, if you want to be logical about it or scientific about it, like at what point is something no longer a coincidence? Like how many times do you have to see these things happen before you start to believe it?
Yep. And something, I think I did talk about this on the podcast the one time about the ways for humans to gain knowledge. The a priori, post posteriori, and I can't remember the third one. But I don't know. Do you remember if I spoke about this?
I can't actually. It doesn't ring a bell to me.
So, okay. So, very quickly, then, just a very brief overview. So, in the 1500s, Carl Hume came up with the idea that we had two different ways to actually interpret and gain knowledge in the world. The first one is a posteriori, which is the knowledge that comes before, and that is our deductive knowledge. Our ability to take something like, if I say a triangle, you know what shape a triangle is. You've known that pretty much your whole life. Even if you can't name it a triangle, you know what a three-sided shape is.
Yeah.
And you intuitively understand that a three-sided shape is going to be stronger than a four-sided shape. That's intuitive knowledge. You don't really need to think about it a lot. So that's the one way of gaining information, is kind of beforehand. It's just intuitive knowledge that we work out about the world. Deductive stuff. But the second one's called a posteriori. And posteriori is inductive knowledge. And inductive knowledge is knowledge that we derive out of the world. Kind of like something like our knowledge that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. 99.999 to infinity chances the sun is going to come up tomorrow. But for the rest of time, there is the possibility of that star just imploding without reason or with reason, but we just don't know about it. So there's always this inductive knowledge that's never 100% truthful, but it's so highly likely that we almost accept it as a truth. So that's something like the sun's going to come up tomorrow, or I can't think of another one very quickly now. And for a very long time, we thought those were the only two ways of gaining knowledge. But there's a very big problem with this. Is first off, a posteriori is knowledge that is never 100% truth. So how can we trust that what we know there is actually true? Yes, it's likely, but is it truth? And the second one, which is a priori's problem, is if we can't actually tell how we worked out the knowledge we have, like us intuitively knowing what a triangle is, how do we know that that's also true if we can't tell how we know it's true? And that was a very big debate for a very long time. And then we came up with the third one, and this is the one I want to get to. The third one is our ability to take predetermined things like a priori, and combine it with a posteriori to form 100% truths. And what a very good example of that is we live in a universe of space and time. It's not intuitive to know that. But when you think about it, this universe is actually 4 dimensions. It's up, down, down, left, right, or it's up or left, and depth as well. But the fourth one is our ability to move through time as well.
Yeah. It's like the whole 3 dimensions plus 1.
Yeah.
It's how they really actually explain this. And it's also, if you want to look at time then in that way and as a dimension, you can kind of see it as slices of our universe.
Yep.
And every single instance of what we're experiencing is like a slice of time.
Yeah.
And it's like this, like a film almost, if you want to think of a film. And as these slices basically continue to stack upon each other, it creates this experience of motion and creates this experience of life that we have. I don't know if you saw that video where they kind of explained gravity.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Where like the apple, the way the apple falls, dude.
Yeah.
It is really, really crazy when you start to actually think about things in that way.
Yeah, and it's also, so to people that don't know, and I'm going to explain general relativity very, very quickly in like the coolest terms of my entire life is general relativity is not a force acting on an object, but it is the object being stationary and moving through time. But time around a celestial body, which is as massive as the Earth, is bent. And because time is bent around the surface of the planet, when you drop something, it continues flowing through time. But time being bent towards the central mass of the Earth means that every object that you drop goes through time and hits the floor. It doesn't get pulled towards the Earth. And that is mind-blowing to me as well.
Freaking wild, dude. Humanity is like, this is actually something I've been really thinking about a lot. Like, we have this capacity to understand these scientific and universal rules of our universe, basically. And the reason we've gotten to this point is because humanity kind of prioritized the scientific, the math, the chemistry, and like these things are all fair and good. Like, this is the reason why we have all of the technology we have right now. But I feel it's also the reason we're getting a little bit disconnected from our true selves. And I feel more so than ever, it's going to be very, very important for our humanity to come back to the other side of that coin, the arts, the creativity, and spirituality especially, dude. And I feel like I don't know anything, obviously, but I feel that humanity as a whole is starting to shift towards that spirituality again, and it's giving me hope, man.
Yeah, it's like the theory of everything by Ken Wilber, where he talks about the cosmos, not the cosmo, the cosmos, the one from the Greek, where the Greeks kind of said that the cosmos is our ability to reason combined with our limit or our emotional ties.
Isn't that the logos?
I'm pretty sure it's the cosmos. I'm gonna Google
Because I
that
know
quick.
in the Greek philosophy they have what's called the logos as well, and it sounds like they're similar. What is the logos? So the logos is the word of God or principle of divine reason and creative order, identified in the Gospel of John with the second person of the Trinity incarnate, Jesus Christ. So logos is a term of Western philosophy, psychology, rhetoric, and religious derived from the Greek word various, meaning ground, plea, opinion, expectation, word, speech, account, reason, proportion, and discourse. Logos, dude. So yeah, maybe they're different words, but it's also one of those powerful ones.
Yeah, dude, it is. The Greeks had great words, dude. Like, so I just Googled cosmos, and cosmos is this a very broad discipline covering any scientific, religious, or philosophical contemplation of the cosmos and its nature. So,
Ah,
dude, I love how much meaning can be put into a single 2-syllable sound.
dude, but that's like the crazy thing about the English language as well. And I think that is why the English language is going to eventually be the dominating language, is because we do that as well. Every single one of our words has this plethora of meaning. We're saying single one or two or three syllable words, but we're saying whole sentences. Like there's a whole book of meaning behind that word every single time we say it. Spelling, dude, creating something.
Dude. Man, every time I learn something new, my head has like this mini what the fuck just happened to me as I try and reevaluate my entire existence. Because
Yeah,
every
dude,
time,
because you're not the same person anymore
yep,
after it.
yep, dude,
Literally. You're becoming something else, becoming something more. And like I think we're very prone as human beings as well to when we're in these like accelerated states of growth where we start to almost dissociate or not recognize ourselves. And it can be very scary to not recognize yourself. But at the end of the day, you can't know yourself any more than fire can burn itself, water can drown itself.
yep.
What's the other one I really like as well?
I've never
Fire
had,
burning it, and knife cutting itself as well,
uh,
actually. Like these things aren't possible, and in that same way, you can't know yourself. And like it's so apparent as well because every single time we're confronted with this new piece of information, the person that we were dies, and then there's a new person rebirthed in that moment, and it's a continuous death and rebirth process. And I feel that is something that the Christian religion had like a little bit of a grasp upon, but not the whole.
dude, I we have so much more information to think about things. Like I'm picturing about all the different science that we are accumulating here together to form the this thought about how we change every single time we learn something new. And I feel like we finally got into a point where we can genuinely approach spirituality. Not in the sense of mumbo jumbo or without knowledge, in the sense of actual study and thought and identification and actually attempt to understand what this entire aspect of ourselves that has mostly been left like you said untouched for like 1,000 years.
Yeah, dude, like we got completely disconnected from that informational system because we believe that that was not something that was indicative of growth in the sciences or in our process of you know gaining more and more comfort or material wealth. And in becoming aware of these things and really actually doing the things that we ought to do, working towards our spirituality, not shying away from the spirituality capacity that we all have within ourselves innately, I feel humanity is going to accelerate that reawakening.
Yep. And as the that article about Neuralink also said the human engine, the human computer, what was it, the human colossus, when it turns its head towards something new, you have the full might of humanity going at it rather than just the singular and individual. And I like this spirit science. I mean, where could even the richest king of like 5, 6, 700 years ago, no, even less, 100 years ago, gotten this information? And
Not
it's
possible,
and
dude.
now it's free.
Yeah, free and readily available. And then, like, that actually brings me back to another point that I've been thinking about and feeling is humanity's reluctant sometimes to learn this information, to allow these informational systems to permeate their consciousness, and it's confusing sometimes, man.
Yeah, most of the time, I think the reason is because change is hard. To actually change the way your brain works and thinks, and like, because you're now realizing that you actually have to physically alter brain matter, is hard. And for some people, it's just not at the top of their list right now, which is
Yeah.
sad. But and in some cases, very understandable. Don't get me wrong. Some cases, it's very understandable. There's no point in focusing on this if you can't eat, and you're really struggling for food and that. Then it's a bit of a different thing. But that's why I say, I feel like most people these days are living in what would be luscious comfort a couple years ago as minimum wage people. And because of that, we're finally getting this push towards, well, now that we have everything, what are we going to do with it? Well, we better do good with it.
I agree completely, dude. And like we're taking these steps now. Like I feel we've kind of, as you said, we've reached a point where our material comfort has allowed us, most of humanity at least, like I can say most of humanity with like pretty decent confidence that most of humanity has experienced material comfort in some sort of a sense. Like as you said as well, like going back, let's go back even further, dude. Let's go back 500 years. Even the poor, like the people that are having a hard time like finding food, have more than people had 500 years ago in comparison to just of the amount of access we have to technology and how this technology eventually overflows into the lives of others as well.
Yep.
Because Africa went straight fiber, dude. Like we didn't
Yeah.
have the infrastructure for like the old ADSL and old like copper internet, so we just went straight fiber. And it's going to be the same way with Starlink as well. Like if you went back, or let's go forward 50 years into the future.
Mm.
Now suddenly the entire world has high bandwidth internet. No installations needing to be done. You buy a piece of technology and now you have gigabit internet.
Yeah.
And you have access to the entire world. So it's going to open us up completely to being able to experience these transcendental mindsets, these feelings, being able to share these ideas and commune with people that want to almost perpetuate these ideas that we are realizing again. And I feel because of that, and because humanity is going to become closer and closer through this development and through this technology and technology in general, we're going to, I feel, allow ourselves to step into the next phase of what it means to be human beings.
I totally agree, man. I do. I think I don't think this is gonna sound harsh, but I actually don't think we can continue as well ahead as we can if we don't turn into very, very, no, to turn more towards cyborgs rather than humanity. And I don't mean that in the spiritual sense. I mean that in the physical sense. I mean that in our ability to process information. I mean it in our ability to push evolution down a path rather than just wait for it to take thousands and millions of
I'm
years.
actually very happy that you said that, Johan, because this is something that has been coming up in my field of consciousness. Like I've been taking my spiritual journey very seriously as of late, and I feel it might be apparent, it might not be. But with this spiritual journey that I've embarked upon, I've allowed myself to really kind of evaluate the things that I plan to do with my life, the intentions I have for things. And within the short-lived relationship that I was in, one of the things that was a big problem for her was the fact that I would be interested in getting Neuralink. And the thing is as well, like the reason it was like a big like stopper for her was because she was ultra anti Elon Musk. And like in my mindset, sure, Elon Musk might have some hectic work policies, but he does that to himself as well. The man like literally sleeps at his gigafactories because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to waste time driving to like a place to sleep other than the gigafactory. So I understand that he's a little bit, like Levi say, cowboy in his way of operation. But that is because he realizes the urgency at which these things need to happen.
Yeah.
And on top of that, she like basically almost ended the relationship because I just mentioned Neuralink. And with this whole like thing going down, I kind of, I felt like I had to take a step back and reevaluate how I was feeling about this, what I thought about it, what I thought that it might do for me and my life. And I literally I meditated. I sat with the idea of getting Neuralink, and I asked myself, can this improve my spirituality, or will it take away from my spirituality? And this is basically the conclusion that I've come upon. And it was that if you want to think about your spirituality and your capacity to meditate and to almost reach these transcendental thoughts as you tuning into a vibrational frequency, you can still turn off your Neuralink when you want to meditate and when you want to be completely aware of your own being. But you can have the Neuralink off with its inputs into your brain. You can keep it on with your outputs of your brain. And by doing that, you can go through your meditation session and record your neural activity with your meditation session. And as you meditate, like at least this is something that I've experienced, as you meditate more and more, you basically gain more traction. You gain more and more experience in your state of meditation, and you reach higher and higher states of understanding and of consciousness. And by being able to record that state of consciousness, that neural activity that your brain is inducing within itself, and then being able to start your next meditation session from that neural capacity, you can literally accelerate your conscious growth and your spirituality in turn as well. And that's at least how I feel about it as of now.
See, I love it that you're thinking in that way, because I'll use another example to emphasize my point. That or coming back to your thing, everything is neutral. It's what you're gonna do with it. And like, I was actually thinking about it the other day. You know how people are like, oh, why would you get a tattoo? What if you don't like it in the future? Well, no, that's not why you get a tattoo. You get a tattoo because it's meaningful to you now. And when the thing that was meaningful to you is no longer in your life, you're just, all that happens is you don't forget the thing. You just change your perspective on it. And it is now a happy memory for you of something that happened. So what I'm coming to with this idea of using Neuralink is, it's going to be, how are you going to use it? Are you going to take Neuralink and believe that it being connected to your head is somehow going to take away from your, I don't know what, fourth dimensional brain, if you want to think about it that way, if you're saying you're tuning into frequencies? How is it possible that having millions of more processing power is going to decrease your ability to do things with your head? It confuses me how people are thinking that something that isn't even invasive, it's not breaking, it's not taking, it's adding. You're still completely you. You just have something else added onto it. And actually, now that I mention, I think it's born out of lack of knowledge.
Yeah, ignorance, absolutely, dude.
Like, and now that after reading that Neuralink and learning how my brain works, you don't think about your reptile or ancient brain as being different. the part of your brain, because remember, your brain isn't actually just one whole thing. Each portion of your, each portion of your brain, which is 3 layers, controls certain aspects of you. Your very bottom brain, which developed first and looks pretty much identical to a reptile's brain, is responsible for your ability to or want to live. It does all your heart like auto beats your heart, auto breathes for you. It's responsible for your fight and flight. Now, that portion of your brain is different from your cortex, which is responsible for emotions and way more active. But you don't go when you're hungry, oh, my lizard brain's hungry, you're hungry. And I feel like it's going to be exactly the same for Neuralink. Neuralink is just going to be this kind of infinite realm.
Layer.
Fourth layer that's on top of your brain that you can access when you want. And if you don't want access to it, you don't care. You don't take the input it gives you.
You just turn it off. Like literally, it's going to be like a device as well. And if you don't charge it, it's not going to be working. So if you're so upset and you can't have it removed, which you can as well.
Yeah.
Like if you want to have it removed, you can just have it removed. But let's say you're stuck somewhere. Like there's another pandemic, no traveling, you can't find the place to remove this thing. Then you just don't charge it.
Yep.
And then it
needs
doesn't work
power.
anymore.
Like
so and the thing is as well, dude. Like people, as you said, people are scared of these things because they don't understand. But like again, we are already interfacing with technology. It's just the bandwidth that is the thing right now. And like again, as you said, of the intention, if you want to use this technology out of a sense of greed, out of a sense of lust, because this is probably going to create a whole new can of worms in the pornography industry
absolutely
as well.
Like beaming a porn scene directly into your nervous system,
or basically like porn stars having Neuralinks recording their experience while it is they're doing what they're doing, and then you being able to download and experience that experience, dude. Like that is a can of worms that I'm not willing to open, because that is you like basically tuning into that conscious vibrational frequency. And sure, like having sexual experiences can be like transcendental as well, but it's transcendental when you're doing it with the right person and with the right intent. And like it's again, it's your intention. What is it you want to use this technology for, and what is it you want to do for the world with this technology? And there's going to be a very big discrepancy between people in that way as well, man.
Yep. And again, Elon's saying of how do you stop Superman? You make everybody Superman. That's the best way. You can't so Hitler will never be Hitler again, because we're all on the same playing field. And something that sucks and people need to realize is you're gonna be left behind if you're not gonna use Neuralink. You're gonna fall.
I don't think people will be left behind. I just think there's going to be a lot of alienation again.
Yes,
because we're going to be like so other, I want to say, almost like being able to communicate in the way that we will be able to communicate, being able to interface with technology, the way this will enable us to, normal humans, or at least the humans that we are right now, wouldn't be able to fully grasp or understand what that field of consciousness is actually like. And like that is something that has created a lot of indifference and separation in humanity, and that is something that I am a little bit concerned about.
But what I'm also more talking about things like, imagine the scientific concepts we're going to be able to express to people. Imagine if Einstein could literally give you his understanding of general relativity, the way his mind views it. No normal human is ever going to have that grasp as well as he did on his own work. And so that goes forward. You're going to now also how jobs. If you don't get Neuralink, your job, you're going to be so much less productive than a normal human, because a human's going to be way less productive than a person with Neuralink, because the Neuralink can run everything he's doing through his Neuralink rather than his brain.
Not only that, bruh, but this is actually something I've been playing with as well as a mental experiment. We would be able to create mental models. So I sit down and I write and I record that mental model. Now I could create an artificial intelligent version of myself that knows the way that I think, knows the way that I express myself and knows the way that I articulate and could write for me. And then you can continue and continue and continue to do that with exercise, with reading, with exploring information, with answering people. It's going to be a really interesting world we're going to be moving into, dude.
Yeah, dude. And in that article as well, they were talking about how long it might take. And what was incredible to me, and it blew my mind, was if we take the current what's it, Moore's
Moore's law.
yeah, Moore's law, with the technological increase, the amount of transistors you can get on a computer chip doubles every 18 months. If we approach that for the amount of brain or neuron inputs we currently have, which is the max we can do, 500 neuron inputs at a time, and we double it every 18 months, we get to which we think is going to be the minimum requirement for brain machine interfaces. We're going to get to 1 million by 2034.
Sounds about right.
If we use a very, very prudent way of judging it, like we mean very prudent, and we go and we say every 7.9 years, the amount of amount of neurons is going to double, which is ridiculously long. That's not how long it's going to take. It's going to be done by the year 21. So the year 2100. Now, for me and you, that's about half of our life expectancy. So even just halfway through our lives, this is going to happen. And on the best possible situation, before we turn 40.
Dude, like I think this is going to be something that's available by our 30s, dude, honestly.
If the human colossus decides that we need to get brain interfaces, which, as much as we've jumped on board Starlink and Tesla, if people do that to Neuralink, we'll have it before we're 30. I guarantee you. At least the first model of Neuralink with bionics.
Like, the thing is as well, I feel what makes me really happy about this technology is the fact that it's going to help so many people, dude, actually live lives again.
Yep.
And that's going to be the thing that's going to be driving this technology forward initially, because we're going to have people that don't have the capacity to move their own limbs, don't have the capacity to feed themselves, don't have the capacity to talk, don't have the capacity to send a message on a piece of technology. Being able to do all of that independently, dude, and like giving someone that much life back is like it would be evil not to. Like that's literally the thing, dude. So
now the question comes in is, and I wonder, how do we price it? Do we eventually, it'll probably become something that you just gets given to you when you're a kid at a certain age, like mandatory. But for the first couple generations, do you think capitalism should prevail, or we should start mandatory doing it earlier?
So, like, actually, if you wanna really think about this, Elon Musk hasn't made this company public because I feel he understands very intuitively that he doesn't want this to be something that's monopolized.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he's not the only one working on brain-computer interfaces as well. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
like even Facebook, I think there's 3 or 4 different companies that are working on brain-computer interfaces.
Yeah, I know.
So in our future, there's going to be competition. Like you can get the Starlink, or you can get the Neuralink, or you can get the FaceLink, or whatever you want to call it, like whatever the other ones are. And there's going to be competition in that sector as well. And the thing with democracy and with having competitive markets is it increases an incentive for these companies to continue to create better and better products. And then in turn, the consumer is the one that benefits off of that. But it also creates a place where there is, again, people getting screwed over because they won't be able to afford this technology at first. And yeah, it's difficult, dude. It's a very hard thing to say, because on the one end, I do understand that there has to be a financial incentive for a company to do something in our day and age, because who is going to stand stand Paul, who is going to be the one that takes the financial risk. And ideally, I cringe just saying this, but ideally our governments are the one that's supposed to pay for this technology. But then I also have this thing running down my spine of our government being the ones that are in control of our Neuralinks, or at least the information that we get to access with them. And I absolutely applaud that future aspect.
Yeah, I'm of the variety that capitalism actually drives prices down further than anything else. Because how else are you going to get phones that are this cheap and can do this much power without having other people push for the same stuff and figure out ways to make phones cheaper so more people buy them? I feel like that's the same thing that's going to happen. If you have enough of a market and enough people competing in that market, prices generally go down for quality. I don't mean like they're going to get less pricey. They're going to get more expensive. But the quality and stuff you get in the phone or the Neuralink for the price is really cheap. And
if you want to think, like, you can actually still like stand with your example. Like, you can get like an arguably good phone, a phone that would be the best phone in the world of 2012 for like 2,000 rand these days, for like $150.
Yep.
And that's bonkers, dude.
Yep. If you want to get the top of the line, everything's going to be expensive. I'm sorry, that's just how it's going to work. But to get something that works, that's going to be not bad. That's going to be quite cheap, I think. There's also probably going to be different models and everything. I mean, we're not stupid. We know how to get and do models. You'll get you'll probably get something that can do it's going to be obvious. It's going to be CPUs. How quickly can this chip do processing? It's still gonna be.
It's gonna be like even more than just that. I think the biggest metric that we're going to be interested in is number of ins and outs.
Yeah.
So like it's gonna probably start with 1,000 and then going up to 2,000, 10,000, 100,000, and the more bits of ins and outs you have, the more capacity you have to interface, the more bandwidth you have. So I feel that's probably going to be the technology driving factor.
Do you see? I feel like that's gonna be the technology driving factor for people who want to use it for the spectacular things. But if we look at phones and the rest of my guess is that it's still gonna be storage space. The most expensive things are gonna be how much storage space you have and how much space you have to store memories.
I think so.
I think so, dude.
I feel storage has been going down in price for the last couple of years.
But if you look at phones, like what do people always buy? The thing with the most storage. What's always the most expensive? The thing with the most storage.
Yeah, that is true. That I can't argue with. But I feel it is temporary. Again, if you think about it as well, like we have phones these days and they are more expensive that have 525 gigs of storage, dude. Like that is ridiculous. Or 512 gigs of storage, excuse me.
I wonder how much...
And like having a phone that has 512 gigs of storage. Remember when we had Blackberries, dude? And we would get like a 1 gigabyte SD card and we'd be waxed, dude, for like months before running out of space.
Yeah.
Now, these days, we like, for example, my phone has, I think, 325 gigs of storage, and I'm running out of storage, dude. I have to delete things.
That's what I mean. So I mean, now imagine I wonder how big a memory will be. It's probably not going to be big. My guess is a couple megs, because if you look at how much power neurons take to make, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Then coding, maybe, if we have, depending on how much neurons that you have to reactivate. But it's gonna be interesting. I still think it's gonna play a big part. From human nature and what I know, we love storing things, and the more space we have, the quicker it fills up.
Yeah, it seems to be the curse that we live by. But I feel this is a good place to leave it off at. I also wanna go and water the slang, so I guess this is a good place to.
Yeah, I need to do editing as well. So. Yeah.
I'm sorry about your footage that you lost, man. That really sucks.
Yeah,
but I know the feel, dude.
Nah, dude, sometimes things happen and sometimes you can't change them. So you know what? Move on, take a shower, do some exercise, and get back on the horse.
Yeah, I agree completely. Thank you, Dreamer J. I appreciate your presence in these podcasts as always, man.
Thank you so much, Maltmore. I love you very much, my friend. And we'll talk again.
I also love you. Yes, we will. Thank you for the
you.
chat.
Bye.
Bye bye.